Okay, so last session we were discussing different theories of justice. Justice means, in this context, some rational principles for ensuring distributive justice, distribution of what is generally known as social goods. Social goods means in a nation, there will be different resources, different jobs, political ranks. There will be some kind of scarcity. Scarcity means, there will be 100 people demanding for one particular social good. That's it. So how to distribute that? It doesn't mean, there is poverty when there is scarcity. Some kind of demand supply mismatch. What can the state do? State can create some principle. That's it. So in a market system that is open competition, they feel that is just in the, suppose in socialism. See, in India means whatever policies are adopted, the state believes, not only in India, in any country, the state believes that it is just. If a policy, if a law is consistent with the fundamental philosophy of constitution, then it is just, it is sticking on to some principles, that's all. That's fine. So, John Rawls theory means it is against utilitarianism. It's a kind of market system only, but a regulated market system. Within a regulated market system, it is trying to, account for even the weakest link of the society. That's it. That's a priority in that. And he is, see, earlier in books, standard books and all, or in internet or notes, it was like uh, the weakest link, the chain principle. The chain principle, it was believed that there can be scope for state intervention, affirmative action. But explicitly, John Rawls is not saying that anywhere. We need to understand that. Explicitly, it's not there. It's actually a kind of capitalism only, but capitalism inequality will be justified, but inequality shall not weaken the position of the weakest link in the society. That's it. It's about maximizing the minimum prospects of all. Minimum prospects. That minimum prospects means that shall be ensured. Beyond that, right, as I told the example, beyond 1 rupee, if somebody is getting, 20 paise extra, that is just only. Let the inequality widen. There is no problem with that. So, in contrast, Amartya Sen's idea is like we cannot arrive at the such kind of universal principles, nor we can have that kind of institutions. It is not necessary that if you create a procedure, the outcome will be inherently just. Nothing like that. Here means a procedure is being created, some principles are created. See, in a running race, when you ensure that fair competition, if the authorities are doing enough to ensure fair competition, then the authority need not be bothered actually. See, suppose you are the ICC, right, and you are conducting the World Cup. You are the head of ICC. You are conducting the World Cup. You need not be bothered about who is winning it. Only thing you need to, right, is suppose you are the ICC chief, you will be thinking like that actually. So the outcome, right, you are conducting something, right? See, UPSC, they are conducting an exam. What will be their priority? Whether the questions are set properly, whether there are any, comments in the social media regarding its standards, or whether the results are coming on time, right? Whether there are any malpractices associated with the, the recruitment process. If nothing is there, See, the recruiting agency has nothing to do with who is the first, second, third bus. That's the case. See, that is the botheration of the students and people like us. For them means UPSC means it's simply conducting. Suppose we are conducting something means okay, but means procedures are met. That's all, right? And you see, do you know about the Duckworth-Lewis rule in cricket? Duckworth-Lewis rule means when the match is going on, बीच में अगर बारिश हो जाता है, if it's raining, so एक criteria होता है, it will extrapolate how much the team will be scoring. Let's say कि somebody scored 350 over. The team which is chasing after 20 over, they are 100 for 2 or something. So it will, keep weightage for how much wickets are left, how much runs they may take. कुछ बना के, okay, now they are leading behind this. Some formula. वो सही है क्या? Is that formula fair? Is that formula just? See, when the teams enter into the game, they enter into the contract known as the cricket match. The authority will be conducting. And finally, it's like outcome. Everyone believes, let's say the team which are playing, they will feel that, okay, it is just, we were part of the contract. Outcome means we have to accept it. That's all. But do you feel that that is fair? Do you need further amendments for it? Does it mean that really it is inherently just? Procedure has been created need not necessarily means outcome will be inherently just. Right? Suppose you are having a team is having a kind of player, a big match winner. मतलब उसका विकेट बाकी है अभी भी. Let the team be 100 for 7 or something. Someone like Maxwell. वो कुछ भी कर सकता है. But it will be, giving the same weightage for a tailender and a Maxwell maybe. It's like it's not fair. ये कुछ भी कर सकता है. We cannot calculate like that. So we will say that the procedure may not be inherently just. After the class, 2 minute, 2 minute you, Google करना. Earlier there was a rain rule in cricket. Maybe you would have read. देखा तो नहीं होगा. In that one 1992 World Cup, how South Africa got out of it. वो देखना. There was a rule. After that only the Duckworth-Lewis came actually. पहले दूसरा कुछ procedure था. I don't want to waste the time. नहीं तो मैं बोल देता. Already I am lagging by 3-4 classes. बस नहीं तो I would have told that story. Okay. So my intent is that if you create a procedure, जरूर देखना, right? 1992, how South Africa was out of the World Cup semi-final. Okay. So can you create a procedure like that? Created a procedure. Okay, it is needed. But does that mean that outcome will be inherently just? When you create something, you feel like certain principles you create, you feel like they are, you know, always just. Nothing like that. John Rawls believed that. John Rawls believed that, there can be a magical combination between liberty and equality. He introduced what is known as original position or veil of ignorance. No need to think much into it. Veil of original position means what? Before creating something, before the state or society is being started, everything starts from zero, original position. Wheel of ignorance, cover of ignorance means you don't know where you stand, right? The example or analogy of the joining in a company I gave you. So on the basis of that, humans are presumed to act in some kind of rational self-interest, what all things they will think. On the basis of that, we arrived at that formula. Fine, that is his principle of justice. But in Amartya Sen's book, Idea of Justice, he brings the example of that flute, right? Distributing the flute between 3 children. If you listen to each of them individually, this is what he argues, you feel like, yeah, it is just. All of them are just. So only thing is that, rather than sticking on to absolutist principle in justice, Sen believes that we can take a comparativist approach. Comparativist. Comparativist means it's like which is more just or which is less just. Rather than, in pursuit of what is just, in a situation, understand what is more just and less just. यही तो हो सकता है ना? That is the scenario. In that example of flute as well, bring all those three children together, discuss, let them extend their views, let the parents decide on the basis of that. What is more just and what is less just. Yeah, na? Sense says that there is no dichotomy. Now you know the term dichotomy. There is no dichotomy between just and unjust. Right? Certain beautiful words we learn during the course of the subject. पहले तो सुना ही नहीं होगा. Dichotomy, if you read somewhere लगे कि यार क्या चीज है. But after that मजा आएगा if you use somewhere की dichotomy. You will feel हाँ यार मैं भी जानता हूँ ये सब. Okay. So there is no dichotomy between just and unjust. It's a kind of continuum. Philosophers always create unnecessary words for simple things. Here, Sen, while criticizing, let's say in his book, he cites the example of Immanuel Kant, John Rawls, and he says that they are adopting a transcendentalist approach. Transcendental institutionalism. Transcendentalist approach means it's like, transcending the circumstances, social circumstances, beyond the social circumstances, you can arrive at some universal principles of justice. And if you create institutional mechanisms to implement that, the outcome has to be inherently just. Right, that's true. You are the ICC chief. आईसीसी चीफ क्रिकेट खेलते हुए देखा है ना so ICC chief you are the ICC chief and you create you are see really when you are conducting something if you are suppose in college you are conducting a cultural program you are conducting something you really we won't be bothered about shouldn't be bothered about who is first or second maybe you can connect with that हमारा तो एक ही you expect like people should say it was conducted in a very fair manner that's the reason why let's say you are conducting World Cup cricket or football something football तो नहीं होगा cricket in India even though the team is losing the leaders जो है उनको मतलब ठीक है दुख तो होता है but it's like it was held really well it was held in a very fair manner सबको people the team we were able to host the the team's really outcome नहीं मेरा तो ये होता है it was done in a fair and just manner fine इमेज क्या आ गया ओके अच्छा यही है आईसीसी चीफ मुझे मालूम नहीं था ओके सो you are so Amartya Sen says like when it comes to the approach of John Rawls he believes there are universal principle you can create institution outcome will be inherently just no that is creating procedure in the ancient Indian literature there used to be two terms, Niti and Nyaya, right? Niti and Nyaya. दोनों जो है mostly one way or the other they used to signify some kind of rightness or justice only, na? Niti, right? You will be aware, na? Niti, Nyayam. Majority of the Indian languages, these terms are there. There is no doubt. They are used interchangeably. Sen says Niti is about creating fair procedure, fair procedure or just procedure, मान लो, just procedure, procedures which are just creating institutional mechanisms. Nyaya means the outcome that is produced. Our focus shall be on Nyaya rather than on Niti. Niti should be there. Niti should be there. And creating the procedure means, see, why did we did stick on to the idea of veil of ignorance? Why the veil of ignorance? Because we needed, some kind of impartiality associated with, no? Impartiality. For that, what did we do? We adopted transcendentalism. It's like presume that, you don't know anything. We don't know anything about our own status and status of others. तब क्या? Then what will you think? Just like in Kant or in deontological ethics, the golden rule, no? Means आपको अगर you don't know about, ethics and all, how do you like? According to you, how should people behave with you, deal with you? कुछ नहीं जान. So okay, we will have certain things. We'll tell them that you should also deal with the people in that fashion. So उसमें है कि we detached from, the social realities, and it was rooted in some fundamental human nature. Or other thing, if I am saying, in a particular society, you want to formulate the procedure of justice, you need, it should be impartial, it should be, accepted, transparency should be there. What will we do? Let's call upon different stakeholders, right? And let them have discussion. And on the basis of that discussion, you understand the different sides at that point in space and time. Then you arrive at some principle. Got it, na? See, discussion. Either you totally detach from, you try to, beyond, transcending the prevailing social circumstances. We are in pursuit of some universal or objective principles of justice. In fact, it is possible. We cannot say that it is not at all possible. So it's there, one way. Who is discussing there in the Rawlsian principle means people who are discussing means they don't know anything about a scenario and they create something. Nothing wrong with that. Next means it's like, people discuss and they arrive at principle, they know everything. Earlier means people have their own rational self-interest. Okay. Here also, let's say the stakeholders are discussing, they have their own rational self-interest in that scenario. But it is actually more concrete. Other one means it's a kind of abstracting. Getting that they discuss, and at that point in time, they arrive at uh, some common principle. So Amartya Sen is borrowing one idea, he himself says, from Adam Smith. You know Adam Smith, who wrote Wealth of Nations. He wrote a work. Wealth of Nations means it's known work, other means theory of moral sentiments or something. He wrote something in that one where he discussed the idea of some impartial spectator. Some spectator. वो spectator means ये होता है कि he is impartial. Let's say he knows everything about the society. He knows everything about the society means, he's listening to different stakeholders. He's understanding their views. On the basis of that, on that debate, he is arriving at some principles that constitute the Niti. He is bothered about the outcome. There is no doubt. But that is actually comparativist approach. When he creates something, he won't say that he won't create the dichotomy between just and unjust. More just and less just. At this moment, means the parents will be thinking at this moment you keep the flute in the room of the person who knows to play it. You people can take it on Monday and Friday. Some kind of things like that. ठीक है ना? And maybe next year means it may change. So it's like we cannot arrive at these kind of principles. And also principles needs to be created by individuals who know about concretely about the ground situations rather than abstracting out, the people. So he is against Amartya Sen is against the transcendentalist approach. It's like once you create, he never believes this kind of universal principles can be arrived at in distribution. And even if you establish fair procedures, whatsoever it may be, it's not necessary that outcome will be inherently just. Maybe you think the scenario like you are having rights on paper, freedom on paper, आपको rights दिया गया from the constitution. You are unable to produce the outcome. Means वो tangibly when you take the statistics means outcome नहीं आ रहा है, it cannot be treated as just. That's for sure. But another thing you see, you created the Duckworth-Lewis law in cricket. That's fine. On discussion you created. But that is the needy. But in many matches, we feel like that rain rule, as you are saying, at times people say, right, it is biased towards people who are batting second. कभी-कभी ये होता है, so that you don't need to play long. If there is chance of rain, if you are not losing much wickets, अगर आपका run rate बहुत कम भी हो, there is chance that you are going to win. If you are following the game, you will get to know. But beach में, if you are losing one wicket, means it falls like share market. That's another thing. But it's biased towards something. Getting it, na? So we cannot arrive at, even though the procedure is created, we will feel like it will not be just actually. So what is the best possible, right? Through discussion, what is the best possible that can be created? And even in the same book where he was discussing the the story of siblings of whom to own the flute, Amartya Sen brings in the first chapter of discussion in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It's like, Arjuna's dilemma, ethical dilemma. There he asks Lord Krishna, like, see, I am thinking about the outcome. I am thinking about the outcome, not about the procedure, outcome, not about the principle, outcome. Outcome means even after winning the war, these are sense opinion only. We need not less scope to write that. Even if you are thinking about, when Arjuna thinks about the outcome, even after winning the war, right? The cousins, grandfather, Pidamaha, his teachers, gurus, all of them are standing on the other side. Even though I am going to succeed, here means the procedural justice or the Niti, Sen is equating it with the then Varna system. Means a person is supposed to do the duty, according to his dominant trait. Means as a king or as a warrior, he is supposed to fight and ensure the victory of dharma or adharma. मतलब है कि तुम अपना काम करो बस, don't bother about the outcome. Virtue is means you do your duty बस. Yeah, you stick on to the procedure. This procedure is fair. The outcome has to be inherently fair. Here, we can contradict Amartya Sen's views as a learner, but no scope for writing. But still, I am citing that how he's explaining it. Here, Sen is equating Krishna's advice to equivalent to this procedural approach. मतलब है कि तुम अपना काम करो, don't bother about the outcome. Then you are a just king. Arjuna is thinking that these kind of consequences can arise because of the outcome. Then why should I even fight even? Why can't we find another alternative? Why should there be, doing the duty? Why shall it be a kind of infallible principle? He's saying that one is sticking on to what is being done, what is being said. That is virtue needy. Tumhara kaam khatam ho gaya. Outcome, you don't bother. Likewise, right? ICC created a formula. You did that. If you feel like it is just, as a person, as a player, you feel like it's okay. But if you feel, आपको लगता है कि this procedure is not fair, nor we can arrive at this kind of procedure, or when you study the ground, many teams are losing, many deserving teams were losing because of this procedure. Means not always we need to stick on to that. We need to invent some other better, rather than saying some infallible, some other better procedure, so that outcome can be a bit better. Fine. So this is the comparison between Rawls and you just think upon that. Okay. Sense approach is, he says, comparativist. Earlier approaches of Rawls or Kant, he says that they are kind of transcendentalist approach. Nyaya over Niti. Nyaya means outcome. Nyaya means, it said that substantive justice. Substantive justice means really we need to focus on that. The Niti shall be, what outcome you need to have. Observe the society, what is the prevailing condition, what is best possible thing. Create procedures and institutions according to that. According to that. What you want and what is possible. Rawls means Same idea, but it's like we can arrive at some universal principle which cannot be compromised with uske basis pe banana. Okay. See, compared means we will think about the outcome, the ground situation you are observing, and you create some procedures, principles, institutional mechanisms of justice to ensure some targets. In that particular scenario, different possibilities are there, which is better amongst the different choices. That is comparativist. Maybe suddenly, if you ask me that, let's say the policies in India, welfare policies in India, fine. We are having, क्या बोलते हैं, we are having the term socialism. Even before that, presume that term socialism was there. See, okay, let there be constitutional principles. In the 1960s, it had political reasons. In 1960s, you know, many policies were, just like the nationalization of bank, more of, public oriented than private oriented. In 1990s and in the present times, means since then, it's changed. It has changed. So it's like, I would say, comparativist means mechanisms are there. The mechanisms then, dono to just, there is no doubt. Until and unless the Supreme Court says it is violative of Constitution means anything is just, right? That is in principle. We can see the Supreme Court even revising earlier verdicts. That is also just. It is said that Constitution is an organic document, living document. Fine. So comparativist means in that scenario, created some procedures, institutional mechanisms for some desired outcomes. That was just, more just. Now you are creating something. Let's say you are decontrolling the prices of, let's say, urea, decontrolling the prices of petrol, kuch bhi karo. That's also just. Comparatively, this is better compared to that. Fine. That doesn't mean that is inherently just. Comparativist approach. Okay. Okay, yeah, yeah, that's fine. It has scope actually. It has scope. In fact, combination of Niti plus Nyaya is only taking place in sense philosophy. If we go, never there was scope to write. Earlier, when we used to study as well, लगता था कि यार what अमर्त्य सेन is telling is perfect because outcome ही तो चाहिए procedure बनाने से क्या होता है. But let me ask a question. In a particular situation, comparativist approach, if you know if you are to promote some regressive tradition in the name of avoiding a violence, mass violence, people are under the sway of emotions. So एक some regressive practice, let's say gender discrimination कुछ चल रहा है totally. So state means it is thinking, okay, वो तो in that situation, if you are doing away, banning that thing, people will protest. Outcome will be further worse. You are comparing. चलो रहने दो, बाद में देखते हैं. This is what practically do. But the scenario is that you will be knowing that that process needs to be banned. It is against some principles. Na? See, in Rawlsian case is that the principles, everything begins with principles. Sen apparently says that we begin with outcome and the ground scenario, but they have some principles along with that. They should have some principles along with that. But they go, is it not the case that some principles are eternal, even in ethics as well? अभी मैंने जैसे जो example बताया, some principles are eternal. This is the case actually. It will narrow down to, see, I will never say that Sen was, contextual, utilitarian, but he admired Bentham for practicality. And these things were created, they were being treated to be transcendentalist. But outcome means the reality is that, just you remember yesterday's feminist criticism we were seeing. You created a procedure so that political rights of women, nobody is restricting women from taking part in political activities. But in the then Europe, the then West Europe means the private property, hereditary property for generations was held by men. Women never had it. Suddenly, when you are given political rights, freedom for participating electoral activities, the one who is in a better position, he will be controlling it. यही होता है ना. This actually marks the beginning of some waves of feminism actually. मतलब है कि जब तक प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स नहीं आएगा, वॉट एवर पॉलिटिकल राइट्स यू आर बीइंग गिवन, whenever if you don't have economic independence, everything is just a kind of procedure. So this is what Sen is trying to say. One thing is that you create something, not necessary that outcome will be ensured. Another thing is that you cannot arrive at, fundamentally this is the, you cannot arrive at that kind of universal principles, infallible principle. Here means John Rawls, through discussion, abstraction of individual, is trying to believe that impartially when people think we can arrive at that principle. Then believes principles can be arrived, but based on just one difference. One, abstract individuals are discussing. Other means concretely those who know the present scenario in the society are discussing. Thus, they create the principles. Okay. In fact, practically what is happening is like, even though you say constitution is a living document, you will say that some principles of natural justice are inherent to it. हम उसको छोड़ेंगे नहीं, that they are actually kind of, if you say, they are transcendentalism only. And when it comes to utilitarianism as well, it's the next choice. Actually, maximum happiness of maximum number. If you are asking Bentham, what is this maximum? वो तो बोलेगा कि I would love to say that 100% people are happy. This is what he will be saying. But the reality, when you consider, I can maybe if you can make only 90 people happy, baki 10 means if they say they have some discontent, you cannot do anything. But if you again ask him baki 10%, baki 10% means if they are leading a kind of totally, with living without any kind of dignity, in fact, वो भी तो नहीं बोलेगा कि let them live like that. But in principle, we treat like when you study Rawlsian principle, that chain principle, na, ki even 1% weakest link principle, it's treated as a critic of principles of utilitarianism. Majority of the socio-political thinkers means they are armchair philosophers. मतलब not a criticism, मतलब है कि अच्छा लगता है as an intellectual exercise. होता है ना, when you create something, theory and practice means they are different. We study, the paper like ethics, code of conduct, code of ethics, citizen charter, RTI. अभी लिखेंगे ना, RTI से transparency accountability आएगा. When you be part of the system, ऐसे सवाल आएगा from the activist. If you give the answer, it may open up the past, the corruption charges committed by your seniors 10 years back. You will be forced to conceal that, क्योंकि it's not corruption. It's like you don't want to betray the trust of people on the system. यही होता है reality and other thing में it's too different actually. Yeah, populism means generally it's a political thing. Populism means satisfying. Mostly the term populism is used to appeal to the, maybe Plato would say it is about appealing to the emotions of the people. Appealing to the emotions means you are getting freebies. Freely काफी कुछ मिल गया. Even we also will be happy. है ना, freely आपको कुछ मिलता है. Government is giving you something for free. Maybe you will be thinking like, as अभी चलो ठीक है, we read newspaper, something we know about the nation. हम तो फिर भी सोचते हैं, but यार if you are staying in Delhi, preparation phase, job नहीं रहा, and the state government is planning to give you, let's say 25,000 rupees. No, not you, everyone, 25,000, 25,000 rupees. हम तो आंसर लिखने के टाइम में लिखेंगे कि फिस्कल डेफिसिट, इंडियन इकोनॉमी दिस मच बिलियन इज देयर, वो आंसर बनाते हैं, बट रियलिटी इज दैट विल एक्सेप्ट. Emotion will be under the sway of emotions, but after getting the job, when you are secured, then we can think. यही होता है ना, maybe you can think. नहीं तो सोचेंगे कि यार 25,000 शेयर में डाल देते हैं, वो देते हैं, जितना भी आने दो, एक्स्ट्रा में दो क्या. Okay, that is populism. Yeah, democracy. Democracy can culminate in populism. We will see that Plato. This is the reason-based criticizing. If you are thinking on the basis of reason, if you are thinking for the nations, when we have war, मतलब war-like situation ना with the different nations, ये security threat होता है. हम यहाँ बैठ के बताते हैं कि why we are unable to, retaliate. हमारे पास we are having this many weapon, missile. रनिंग ए नेशन मीन्स बहुत कुछ चीज होता है ना उनका भी, मतलब whether we have the enough strength or not, whether we have the enough strength or not, right? So that's the case actually. वो strength कहाँ से आएगी? That strength comes from public. awareness of public, contribution of public. That's the reality. If you think on the basis of reason, वही होता है. But when we think the immediate basis, populism, we get something friendly, सोचते हैं कि यार why? Okay, चलो. So you may get question like which is better and better applicable in Indian scenario and all. That we will see as a question. ठीक है ना? And in ethics, 10 years back, one question was asked like, what is the significance of Rawlsian theory of justice in the Indian context? फाइन ना. तो एक्चुअली उसके बाद ही लोग पढ़ाना शुरू किए होंगे एथिक्स में. जॉन रॉल्स नीड टू बी टॉट. ऐसे नॉट ओनली इन एथिक्स, होता है ना, एक बार आता हो तो पता लगता है कि यार या दिस नीड टू बी टॉट. डोंट वरी, बहुत कुछ आएगा ऑन व्हाट वी आर स्टडीइंग. But it will be a kind of bouncer, but only in options like philosophy and political science people study that. ठीक है, मे बी वो थियरी यू कैन टेल लाइक ओवरलैपिंग, है ना, philosophy is overlapping with beyond that theory. That's true. Procedure established. बोले और क्या क्या, जल्दी बोलो. What all things application if you are getting that question on ethics or in philosophy? Rawlsian theory means procedure established by law, free and fair elections. Rawls believes in open competition. Okay, welfareism to some extent. And some criticisms from Sen also, Niti Nyaya will bring. Right? This is the thing we'll be saying. Not in that ethics paper, but here means we will be making use of that. We will be in procedure, no? We adopt what is known as the elements of Weberian bureaucracy. Now, Weberian bureaucracy क्या है? It's like sticking onto the rules. We create something, sticking onto the procedure. We believe that outcome will be just. Yeah, institutionalism. Got it, na? I'm not going to discuss question now. As I told, उसके next month ही करूँगा. But you are able to understand, na? If question comes like this, some pattern of thought will be like that. Okay? You just think. Okay, so in these topics, I feel basic ingredients we are having. If we discuss two or three question means it will be very clear. Okay, till now it has been okay, na? This socio-political philosophy, while shifting from paper one, okay, na? Abhi tak theek hai na? Relatable. Totally different, na? What we have been doing till now and what we are doing now, completely different. Oh, वो अभी बाद में. Uh, the term sovereign. What do you mean by the term sovereign in the Indian preamble of Constitution? Okay, right. Till now, say yeah, na? Till now it's fine. No thoughts. Okay. So what is the meaning of the sovereign, socialist, secular, sovereign? What is the meaning of sovereign? Yeah, power, authority. When we define state, right? In the initial class, we defined state means it's the population, territory, government, sovereignty, map of India, territory, population. We reside there. We are citizens. In 1950, we had a contract. हम लोग थे नहीं, but we were also part of that contract. 1949 November 26. पता है why it was extended 2 months? Even the constitution सब खत्म हो गया था on November 26, but January 26 को ही लिया है. Okay, so we created a contract, and after that, we say we surrendered something. हम ड्यूटी करेंगे. You ensure that we are having rights. उसके लिए तुमको पूरा पावर दे दिया. That is sovereign. You should safeguard us. You should safeguard us from external aggression. Yeah. You should, create laws for our welfare. Granted. We will do duty. We will pay taxes. We won't think against the team known as state. Yeah, actually the principle. This is social contract. One type of social contract. Okay. So sovereign means broadly it can be understood, or if India is creating a legislation. In fact, in principle, should we need to give a justification to United Nations or any other, the neighboring countries? It's a choice, right? Whether we should give justification or not, it's a choice. कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि we should tell others why we have created a law. North Korea, are they consulting anyone before doing something? मतलब उसको अगर रॉकेट भेजना है तो बस they will do that. Many countries, no? Hmm. China and USA under Trump, international law, right? उनका तो कानून तोड़ने का शौक है वैसे बस. That's it. But you can, is something known as international law. It's China means definitely, they won't say, but they will violate. USA under Trump is saying how far they can violate वो तो बदलता रहता है. It keeps changing. Chinese policy. under, मतलब उनका है कि never show your strength. Only when the time comes वो दिखाना चाहिए. मतलब बोलना नहीं चाहिए actually. Right? You do not keep saying that we have this, that. Underplay yourselves. Good strategy actually. For a nation or as a person, underplay yourself. Strengthen, keep strengthening yourself. ये होता है ना good thing. Anyhow, power means, in fact, no nation, I would say, in the international sphere is bound by these laws. Don't think that we are thinking about internationalism, globalism, ऐसे कुछ नहीं है. Practically, it's sovereignty, complete authority. If you are creating a law, means the state is creating a law. Whether the state government, central government, they are bound only by the Indian constitution, not by the UN charter. Bas. But we will do. It's our choice. Being in order to build soft power credential in the, just like the rational self-interest. When it comes to foreign policy, we say enlightened national interest. We may do like that. We do some kind of concession, globalism. तो ठीक है. But still, it's the absolute authority of the state. Fine. Population, territory, sovereignty, government, whatever may be the kind of government, whether it is a monarchy, whether it is a democracy, the power of state. Without that, the state cannot exist. Fine. But as we are saying, when we are seeing, at times we feel like the state is bound by, let's say, civil society activism. In the civil society state. In India, state means actually, is it the government or is it including everything, judiciary, government, judiciary, executive, legislature? State means वो सब कुछ मिला के होता है. Perhaps in a monarchy, if there is no separation of power, complete authoritarianism, judicial, executive, legislature, everything will be one and the same. See, in a presidential form of government, you might be knowing, let's say in the case of US, definitely there is authority for judiciary, right? Scope for judiciary definitely है. And when you see their presidential form means even the executive and legislature are separated. You might have studied executive, legislature, judiciary. There is strict separation of powers in the US. In India means executive is a part of legislature. Britain, it's also like that. Anyhow, irrespective of the interplay between the organs of the state or in an absolute authority, everything comes from the king, maybe monarchy. He will decide what is just, he will decide what is the law, he will decide how it needs to be executed. In principle, I am saying, we need not bother about separation of power or something. State, state sovereign. Right? The separation of power the state creates because they need to systematize in such a way that there needs to be checks and balances. Matlab, they tend to promote, they love to convert rule into services, good services. बस और कुछ नहीं. There shall be ethical governance, there shall be good governance. That's the reason why when the time of contract itself, you are systematizing like that. That's another thing. But the state authority shall prevail. If the judiciary says like some law is not unconstitutional, citizens are bound by that absolute authority of state. Getting that is sovereignty. But generally, we consider sovereignty as the law created by the state only. In principle, state shall have that complete authority. We cannot question. What are the other mechanisms which can create these laws, law and rules, tradition? Let's say in religion, religious laws are there. They used to be accepted for many centuries. Still, when you say another personal laws in the Indian context, religious context, personal laws means, uh, personal laws means religious laws. For different religions, it's like that in Indian. Until and unless a UCC, Uniform Civil Code, is coming, fine? So personal laws. So chalta hai. But suppose there is a conflict between this personal law and the law created by the state, which will prevail? That one created by the state will prevail. ये होता है ना practically. But at times it seems like the state is bound by that. Practically, when governance takes place, or in principle, ये होता है कि in Indian model of secularism, people can argue equal promotion of all religion. State, may not intervene into the essential practices associated with the religion. State is not going to intervene, not going to. तो लगेगा कि यार, can it be treated as sovereign, complete sovereignty? When there is kind of activism, when the trade union, merchants, the merchant union, or the capitalists, farmers, workers, उनका जब होता है, we may feel like, okay, the state is listening to them. State can create any law. State is listening to them. It seems like state is bound by them. Even I gave you an example, maybe in first class or something. In Indian history, ancient medieval Indian history, you study about merchant guilds. Merchant guild means Shrenis. Shreni or merchant guild means during the Gupta period and during the period of Cholas, they merchants had association, union, they created certain laws, they had their own judicial powers. Even the sovereign never used to intervene into that. Because sovereign, Guptas, Cholas. I'm not saying that they lacked the power, but देखो ये होता है कि at times it seems like the sovereignty is not simply state is not having the absolute power. कहने का मतलब है that we feel like state is at times we feel not having the absolute power. It seems they are not intervening, whether it may be in the case of religion or international organization, these kind of shrenies, media groups. But you can again argue state being responsible or considering the circumstances voluntarily, they are restricting themselves. यही तो हम बोलेंगे ना. Come back. What we need to see is some theories of sovereignty, monistic versus pluralistic. Monistic means the absolute authority shall be vested in the state only. That is the monistic theory. Pluralistic means practically and ethically we need to divide that. One thing I am already saying is honesty has to be monistic. Divided probable negative. Just like we study the notion of substance, na? Absolute substance, finite infinite. वो नहीं हो सकता है. Just like in substance should be like Spinoza. Substance cannot be like Descartes. Then only we are doing justice to the concept of substance. Likewise, sovereign has to be only one. If there are more than one sovereign, there can be a kind of limitation upon each other. Okay, we'll see that. See, when do you feel, on what circumstances you feel like there shall be, sovereignty, absolute authority shall be given to state alone, ruling system alone, in which circumstances you feel? There will be circumstances we feel like state को इतना power नहीं देना चाहिए, right? Just like we saw and will be seeing in anarchism, state cannot be given this much of power. When we see, surveillance, yeah, emergency, somewhere else, something else. Let's say religion is creating laws. Yeah, violence, true. When there is anarchy, in the literal sense, when there is anarchy in the society, or when, पूरा gangsters होते हैं, right? You'll feel like the state shall be more empowered, they shall make use of the power to ensure the security, right? This is the thought. Complete power should be given to the state. We trust it. Yeah, emergency. See, during the COVID times, religious institutions, educational institution, anything, at least after some time, people didn't protest. Voluntarily, they understood the scenario. and kind of we vested upon the state now completely. Yeah, whatever state is doing, we will follow to the largest extent. In the Europe, in the 15th and 16th century, suppose you were there in the then Europe, there is the monarch, but the religious authority, religious institutions, they were a bit political. And the religion, participated, took part in the war, the crusades. And there was an economic system known as feudalism in the then Europe. Feudal means, property owning class. They were very powerful. They had their own, arms, weapons, and all. Common public, they lacked something. वही आजकल मान लो कि different gangsters are there. Gangsters with a lot of power, authority. Every week they are coming and taking money from you. We feel like, yeah, what sort of, place is this? होता है ना, who can guard? We'll say that, state cannot guard you from them because they are powerful. What will we say? We'll say like, first of all, we need to create license. See, natural thought will be like, there shall be license for weapon. I don't need weapon. Not everyone shall possess weapon. State shall possess weapon. Different people are coming there. Say like, religion is coming and telling you some laws. You are bound by this. नहीं तो तुमको इससे बाहर कर देंगे. And also, yeah. And also, let's say in your job, some union is there. You don't want to abide by the principles of that. वो बोल रहे हैं कि you need to follow that. We have created the law. I will go to the court. Like यार कोई power नहीं है. This is our domain. It has no power. What will we say? We'll say like state shall be empowered. State shall assume control over the religion in case of conflict between religion and the thing. Like then why the monarchy is here? Even though the monarchy is there, then why the monarchy is here? Right? He should have more power. We'll say like when there are many power groups like this, it shall be vested in one of them. होता है ना? This marks the root of one among the works of a thinker, Bodin. French thinker. He, in this work, analyzes about different forms of government. Different forms of government. Yeah, I will come. Different forms of government and कोई भी वही say like state shall have, whether it may be democracy, whether it may be monarchy, whether it may be, some other aristocracy, group of people, then their power shall be vested in the institution known as state. And amongst them, in that time, he feels like monarchy is the better one. Simply, it's not a theory of sovereignty and all, no need to consider. Natural thoughts. Our power shall be vested in only one organization. As you are saying, na, then we also should become a gangster. Definitely. और क्या कर सकते हैं? If you are in a such a scenario, means you will also, discuss with like-minded people. वेपन बनाओ, डॉन बन जाओ, बस और कुछ नहीं. डॉन मीन सिचुएशन का प्रोडक्ट होता है ना. सिचुएशन मीन्स एवरीवन, लेट्स से, विशेस टू हैव ए पीसफुल लाइफ. बाकी लोग जीने नहीं दे रहे हैं. सो वी विल ऑल्सो बिकम डॉन गैंगस्टर. फिर उसमें मजा आएगा. We'll try to, prevail over others. That's the natural tendency anyhow. So there is a thinker, some people thinker, Thomas Hobbes. Hobbes says like, in reality, what he has seen in the then Britain, he feels like, continuous civil war was taking place. Human character, he understands to be bad, selfish, brutish. They are governed by brute. I won't comment upon that. This is what I was saying, whether human beings are good or bad. There is no any black and white answer for this. Human can be good and human can be bad. Moral evils, in philosophy of religion, they are committed by human. But at the same time, human beings are having virtues. You don't need to go there. But Hobbes feels like there shall be an authority with complete power, since we have raised it. Yeah. Malsanya means big fish eating the small fish. Power is the determining criteria. वो नहीं होना चाहिए ना. If power is there, वो किसको देना चाहिए? One institution, state. We may feel na one institution, and that institution means you are asking who recognize that state is sovereign. एक contract बना लो. Let's make a contract with the king. You make a contract with the king that monarchy is there. Here, common people is going to support you. I'm not saying democracy, contract. You ensure a security. We give you obedience. We trust this institution. We trust this institution on a state. Or even you consider this is known as popular sovereignty in the preamble of Indian Constitution. We the people of India. इसे शुरू होता है ना. We the people of India, we create something. What does that philosophically mean? The preamble contains the whole the philosophy of the constitution. देखो उसके अंदर क्या क्या है? Rights, duties, laws, the definition of law, the federal system, emergency provisions, preventive detention, provision for preventive detention, सब कुछ है. Contract में क्या है actually? People are ready. You guard us. In principle, if you are analyzing, simply in principle, if you analyze, we trust this institution. We are forming parliamentary form of government with judicial provisions for judicial review. We will do the duty. You can punish us. Capital punishment is also not, unconstitutional, and also emergency provisions not unconstitutional. ये होता है ना through contract. People. This is actually the basis of what is known as social contract. Through social contract only, the state is getting actually the sovereign authority one way or the other. This is in principle. State means people are also there. In ancient Indian literature, during the time of Mahajanabada, some term, Mahasammata. Mahasammata, Sammata. Sammata means permission. Elements of contract. And even you see the ritual known as Ashwamedha. Ashwamedha means मतलब जो घोड़ा जहां भागता है, some king is owning a horse. If any ruler has got the courage, जिसको हिम्मत है वो उसको रोकेगा. नहीं रोकेगा तो the whole territory means he is sovereign. That's it. Okay, sovereign. This is sovereign means power. Contract we will see in between. So this much is okay. No? This is sovereign. So we feel, the state, it shall have complete power. What shall the state give? That depends. At least state shall ensure order and security in the society, first of all. You safeguard us from, the external interventions. You see, even though during the time of company rule, people signed subsidiary alliance. They are compromising their sovereignty actually, even though they are the supreme. Sovereignty kya? You guard us from external forces. But to Britain they are saying, state themselves shall be able to do that. Here means आपने sovereignty दे दिया बस. It's like we will be mere nominally we will rule. De facto rulers are going to be way in principle means the state shall say that we will guard the people. Okay, so complete power. So Bodin during that time, he says, state shall assume complete authority over the institutions like religion and the feudal lords so as to ensure the security of the people. And if you believe, human beings are intrinsically bad, that is the view of Hobbes. If human beings are intrinsically bad, you need a contract, you need some sort of authority. Human beings are governed by selfish interest. ये क्या बोला था ये John Rawls. This is what I was saying. Any ideology I have felt it narrows down to a particular thinker's conception of human character, how a human is. When you say that, why do you need social contract? Why do you need a form of authority? Because we cannot trust human beings. They are inherently violent. They are inherently selfish. ये उसका view है. Rawls also creating a kind of contract. कि selfish नहीं बोल सकते हैं. Self interest. They act in rational self interest. Getting the difference, na? What will an anarchist say? Mahatma Gandhi, what he will say? When he says that state, you don't need state at all. Intrinsically, they are good. You through persuasion, whatever good he is having inside, उसको बाहर लेनी चाहिए बस. Fine. So sovereignty brought in during that time. Simply that was the context. He wishes state shall assume power over this. On what all things? On religion, control the power of landlord outcome of the feudal system. And what sort of government shall be there? He is contemplating, whether it be like the aristocracy ruled by few, or whether it be like, democracy. Don't have a prejudice that democracy is the ideal form of government. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. See, capitalism, before starting this discussion, capitalism means some, in wrong misconception hoti, it is something wrong. It is also ethical. Na? Capitalism is also ethical actually. It never advocates to say to exploit someone. It is individualistic. It has some consequences like that. Likewise, monarchy. He feels like only in a kind of monarchy when concentrate the power in one hand. If you have a good leader, charismatic leader, king who has got the courage, then only you can have, control these elements, deviant elements. Even in democracy, don't we feel we need strong bureaucrats? We need strong rulers when it comes to extraordinary circumstances. कभी कभी जाता है ना on personal virtues. Decisive people we need. Just read a bit about the founder, first prime minister of सिंगापुर. मतलब एक इतना छोटा नेशन जो है, वेरी मतलब इंस्पायरिंग. ही मेड यूज ऑफ द ब्यूरोक्रेसी देन रिसोर्स स्केर्स नेशन. इन शॉर्ट स्पैन वो एक पावर बन गया, इकोनॉमिक पावर. इट्स नेम इज ली क्वान यू. So what happens is like many a times, he says he feels इस scenario में democracy when the power is divided, again, the scenario further may get worse. So Borden feels authority of state, everything shall be subservient to that state, and the best form of state is a monarchy. That is his thought. That is considered to be a kind of sovereignty. The modern nation, the European studies political theory, they believe that the idea of nation that comes during the 16th, 17th century and the age of enlightenment, when the things like social contract came, उसको लगेगा कि earlier there were Mauryas, earlier there was Roman Empire, क्यों? But एक typical this kind of thing, na? The concepts like discussions regarding social contract, population, हो सके. So social philosopher. You meant this, na? बाकी यही है यही he only feels. Okay, Gordon. No. Okay, you just think. वो कोई बात नहीं यार, आइडिया इज इम्पोर्टेंट. हाँ, वही तो मैं. इनफैक्ट इसका प्रोनाउंसिएशन कुछ और है गॉर्डन का. बोडा और समथिंग. पहले बोला था ना, ओरिजिनल प्रोनाउंसिएशन बोलना अजीब लगता है. रियल प्रोनाउंसिएशन मैंने टोल्ड ना, COUP. बचपन से बोलते आ रहे कि कोप कोप मिलिट्री कोप. सडनली आके कोई कह रहा है कि इट इज कू. कैसे बदल सकते हैं यार, इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट. हमने काफी लोगों को मजाक भी बना दिया होगा जो कू कू बोलता है. एंड डेब्यूट होता है ना, DBUT से डेब्यूट. और क्या बोलता है कि डेब्यू. जो डेब्यू बोलता था उसको मजाक बनाते थे, इवन दो इट्स ट्रू, इवन दो ही वाज करेक्ट. Okay, able to imagine, right? if we were in such a society, we will say that the power shall be vested in one institution, one association with which I can have contract with. Like, I am ready that if he is punishing, if the state is punishing me, I am okay. I will be obedient if it because he is ensuring me the security. देखो, when you go outside, हमको तो ये डर नहीं लगता है कि somebody will come with weapon, somebody will come with gun or machine gun. Very rarely it happens, the kind of crimes. In a daily life means we won't have that fear. But when we have, some instances, regular gang war or 2611 kind of instance, हमको तो डर लगेगा definitely. Whether the sovereign is having that power or not, वो doubt हो जाएगा actually. Because the state can guard the people. If there is no state at all, there is no security. Anyone will come, and this is the scenario that used to take place during the medieval kingdoms and all. This is the reason why it cannot be put under the common term sovereignty. Power, make use of power, capture. People don't know where do they belong, which territory. It had elements of it in good kingdoms. Okay, see, there are thinkers, Bodin, Austin, Hobbes. You don't bother about the thinkers, understand the thoughts. Thinkers will naturally come. What are the tenets of sovereignty actually? Power means it shall be completely vested in state. It shall be permanent, no? It shall be in state only. And it shall be continuous. Continuity, permanent means kya? Permanent means, let's say, some party is ruling a country, let's say India, USA. After some time, some party or other group of party or a coalition is ruling. Still, the sovereignty is vested in the state only, nowhere else. It's not like suddenly the state is saying like, yeah, one day we are going to go on leave. Today, the religious authority may rule. It is not happening. Transfer नहीं कर सकते. This is sovereignty. It shall be with the state only. Have you seen the movie Nayak? Originally, it is a Tamil movie, Mudalvan. उसमें कि for one day, during an interview वो तो is transferring the sovereignty. देखा है वो तो देखा होगा इससे. Even though it's somewhat old, टीवी में आता रहता ना, so there is no any kind like पुरानी चीज नहीं देखे देखा है ना. So you may ask like, is he not transferring the sovereignty? मतलब chief minister for one day. uh, that's true. That I also think one day was too long. One day seemed 1 year. क्या क्या नहीं किया उसने. Okay, so in that one as well, it's not being transferred, not to any other authority. In principle, anyone can be the chief minister. Suppose you get an opportunity to interview any minister or any chief, ऐसे सिनेरियो बनाना उस मूवी में ऐसा है ना, ऐसे सिनेरियो बना दो. एंड मैं आस्क यू, एक दिन तुम सीएम बन के देखो, सब हाँ बोलना, ठीक है ना. एंड यू सी हाउ लॉन्ग दैट डे इज. ओके, so there also the power is not transferred to any other group. See, in principle means it's within the purview of state only. It's somewhat equivalent to when a minister is ill or unfortunately dies during that time. during that time ये कर सकते हैं कि anyone can rule ना मतलब है कि they need to conduct the elections and succeed. So what I am trying to say is it's not transferable. Permanent means irrespective of the party which changes. Or in a monarchy, when a monarch dies, following that his eldest son is becoming the ruler, या किसी दूसरे को दे दिया, still it is vested with the state, not any other form of human association. This is what I was trying to say, right? And they say that it cannot be divided. Normally, it's not divisible. Even if you see like religion is having power in certain things, media is having power, the groups are having power. Who is guaranteeing that? In India, you have the right to protest, you have the right to form civil society organization, trade union. कहाँ से आता है? It comes from the rights only. Who is guaranteeing you the rights? The state is guaranteeing you the rights. Got it, na? State is guaranteeing. State can be either, in principle, state can be either responsible or irresponsible. It's up to states. Think it like that. Power. State means sovereignty means power. This sovereignty means it is, normally it's said that it is permanent, non-transferable, indivisible. Indivisible means state, if it is saying like this year, or I am going to make formulas in the welfare policy. To religious groups, they say like you decide the education. हमारा पास time, मतलब you decide the education. I won't get into that. And to the trade unions, they are saying that you formulate the Ministry of Commerce and Ministry this industry. आप संभाल लो इसको इस साल. It won't happen. They may consult. Practically, what is happening is that finally the law will be created by the state. In countries like India or USA, the state may consult. Everything is vested in the state. Getting that this is sovereignty. This is actually monistic theory of sovereignty. Even though the state is bound by some, let's say state cannot get into this domain, that domain. You cannot define sovereignty like that. State can get into anything. If state is not entering into the domain of something else, it is the state who is deciding. Getting that is the reality. And when you consider the idea of sovereignty or social contract in India, do you presume that human beings are intrinsically bad? That is the reason why we the people of India, popular sovereignty जो है ना? Thomas Hobbes, thinkers like him say that he has seen the British Civil War. He see so many landlords fighting amongst each other. They are having the power. They are having their self-interest. So he felt human beings are intrinsically bad. So we need some superpower in the form of state to tame those brutish or cruel tendencies in human being. Contract khali is it created because people are bad? ऐसे हो सकता है क्या? Is it like that? Different people have different conceptions regarding. Let's take the example of cooperatives in India. Not law state. Cooperatives क्यों होता है? Why you form clubs? People with good intentions come together in order to make the life much more better. You trust others. ये भी होता है ना? You trust others. If human beings are intrinsically good, they cooperate among themselves to form an association, definitely to guard security, not because they are bad. Occasionally there will be aberrations, but largely we are good. We need to cooperate and flourish better. For that as well, we can create say that also is social contract. Thinkers like Rousseau and all believe, but still Rousseau. But still, even if you create, democratic state means power will be vested in that institution. Okay, we'll continue next class.